What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about This Is Not a Test of the Emergency Broadcast System. No, it's just the first part. This is not a test. It's a 2026 zombie horror movie that's being released by IFC Films. Apparently, this was given a theatrical release, but those who did see it in theaters all noted that basically it was only running like one showtime a day. And the film stars Olivia Holt, and it does have audio description. So if you're interested, you can get that checked out. I don't think it's a Shutter title. I think it's just straight up IFC, which is interesting because it screams Shutter because it's a zombie apocalypse movie. But anyway, um, so it's based on a book I did not read. If you read the book, you might have a different experience, as is true with literally anything ever that there's ever been a book adaptation of. Um, the audio description is fine. Like I didn't have any major thoughts about it. I would say based on I always try to check to make sure from a sighted person, just like, did I get the vibes? Did you get the vibes? Did I get those vibes? There's a lot of shaky cam apparently used in the actual film for sighted people, and obviously with audio description, it's not going to point that out. So I guess it spares us the shaky cam. Of course, if you're blind and you've been spared shaky cam your whole life. I have not been blind my whole life, so unfortunately, I know what shaky cam looks like. Um, and an overuse of it is certainly not fun. But that's not part of my review because it wasn't part of my experience. My experience with the film is that it's trying to be like a Breakfast Club meets Dawn of the Dead, which it does not succeed at. It takes place in 1998, which I'm not sure why, because it's a zombie apocalypse. So all of the reasons you would normally move a movie back in time, like they did with the plague was moved back to a specific time period, so they didn't have to worry about cyberbullying. So you didn't have to worry about like people texting and scrolling on their phones and going onto social media and all that kind of stuff. Um, in a zombie apocalypse movie, you just explain that really easily by like having everything be knocked out. Like, oh, the systems are down. It's because it's zombie apocalypse. So, I mean, if you look at The Walking Dead, which is modern, right? I mean that was not set in the past. Nobody on there has ever scrolled their social media feed. Nobody's ever been like, Facebook. Guys, you see this Facebook ad? It's just people on everywhere. They're just posting during the zombie apocalypse. It's really so yeah, it's just not a thing that the assumption is that the systems collapse. So we get five kids who are hung up in a school, and I say kids lightly because Olivia Holt is like 29. I don't know who the other ones are. One of them was in like Teen Wolf and Cruel Summer. Another one is from. He plays the sheriff's kid on From, which I've since have forgotten his name, but I do love From, and I know who that is. Um, but yeah, so a couple of the characters have been in some stuff. Olivia Holt is obviously the draw here, although I'm not sure she's a massive draw. She was in Hard Eyes last year, which was okay. I mean, it was a little more brutal than it needed to be, I think, for the kind of horror comedy it was trying to be. Um, and she was in that Christmas movie for Netflix, Jingle Bell Heist. So I've seen her in a couple things recently. This is like, there's nothing really here. There's no here. It's just the five kids, and they're not really Breakfast Clubby. Like they don't feel so shockingly different when they do all hold up inside the school during the zombie apocalypse. They don't feel like they're converging from five different aspects like the Breakfast Club did, where they represented archetypes. Here, that's not present. Here, they're just like five kids in the same. Two of them are actually like brother and sister, so which they also don't do much with. and none of it really makes any sense. Like some of the writing is kind of clunky. Like there's a scene where they're all like drinking because they found alcohol in the school. I don't know. Um, and the other girl that's not Olivia Holt, says something about how she had sex in a bathroom with some guy, and her brother's like, "Who is it? I'll kill him." I'm like, "This is a zombie apocalypse." You know, it would have been a better line. Would have been like, "Who is it? I'd punch him in the face if it's probably a zombie." You know, like something like to acknowledge the present of the moment that he's in, the gravity of the situation, um, instead of his over alpha male protective brother stuff, which works in different formats, but not really in this format, not really in a survival zombie horror thriller. The film can occasionally be gory, like a couple people die. That it's like it sucked. I don't want to die like that. Um, what else can I say about the film? I would say some spoilers here. Uh, so they introduce they because a lot of it has to do with how I actually think the film has potential. They just don't do anything with it. So first of all, I love the fact that the film. I know some people with zombie films are like, I need my zombie action all the time, all day, every day, 24/7. I just need zombies. Ah. I actually like the fact that they're in the school and it's ratcheting up the tension and we're getting to know the characters. It's just that the character development here is really poor, and they're not very good at it, and they didn't really create interesting characters to begin with. So when you have five uninteresting characters who are not really being developed or pushed at all, or tested or stretched, or like what is their purpose, what are their likes and dislikes, I felt like we didn't know any of that about any of them or learn much about them. So they kind of homogenize into a little group a lot quicker than you would have liked. Um, so they try to throw like a halfway through the movie wrench when a teacher, Mr. Baxter, played by Luke McFarlane, sneaks back into the school, and he's kind of creepy at first, and you don't know. I love the unease that he brings to the film. Like he ends up being the wild card, right? The what's this? What's the situation? But unfortunately, the film doesn't really want him there. The film is more content with just being with bland teenagers. So Mr. Baxter ends up serving very little purpose and being moved aside and kicked out. They do this thing with him where, first of all, he's super creepy because there's a scene where he hits on Olivia Holt. It's like, that's interesting to me. Like have him be around and have this dynamic. He says something about like they call him Mr. Baxter and he's like, I'm clearly not a teacher anymore, so no don't need to call me Mr. Baxter anymore. Which is true. I mean, societal collapse. Like, why would he? Probably the majority of the town around them have turned into zombies. That's how you get a zombie horde. Is a whole bunch of people have to die to create the horde. Um, and he ends up with a bite, and he just trying to like explain it. And they're like, "Oh my god, he's been bitten. He's gonna turn. What do we do?" And at this point, they already have the upper hand, so they have the only gun that exists in this movie. And instead of doing something interesting like finding, I don't know, like down in the locker room, they usually have those cages, those equipment locker room storages. There's something in here that they probably could have put him in, especially in 1998 with older schools. So they could have locked him in somewhere, especially considering they lock a character in right after this. But they don't do that. Instead, they just kick him out. And it would have been interesting to keep him to show that evolution of, okay, so is he bitten? How long does it take for him to turn? What's it like to watch him turn if he is turning? The film doesn't really want to do that, but it's like one of the more interesting things they possibly could do in this film. So instead, it's far more interested in just like kicking him out and sending him back out into the wild. I think it would have been far more interesting to have him around and have like the kids having to like go down and watch him, like take turns. And then he has individual conversations with each one of them, which would have pulled at each one of their like loyalties, and we would have gotten more character development out of them. It's like I shouldn't have to do the work for you to make this film more interesting. You're supposed to do this yourself. But these are the kind of things that make a film feel richer, you know, and more developed. So a missed opportunity to keep him around. He does the same thing that was done to him, so he ends up biting one of them, but they don't kick that kid out, and instead he gets put in the principal's office and then let out when he doesn't turn into a zombie. So um it's like the least possible interest. I mean, it kind of has like a bleak ending to it, so props for that. But this one just didn't work on any level, and I think there's a reason why IFC like dumped this at the beginning of the year, and they barely gave it a theatrical release, and they're not even bothering to put a Shutter title on it because even Shutter has standards. It's just something that they have, and they're like, we got to get rid of it. So, um, yeah, I can't imagine too many people are excited about This Is Not a Test. Although it has all the potential in the world, it's a great concept, great premise. It just doesn't do anything with it. It doesn't really highlight the specificity of why it needs to be 1998. It doesn't really do anything with the Breakfast Club idea of these being five students who feel wildly different. Like, where's my nerd? Where's my, oh my god, guys, I can't go out there, but I can read, I can math well. Like, where's that guy? You know? Um, in this day and age, you gotta have like the alpha male jock, like the bruh. I guess in 1998, we didn't have bruh. What do we have back then? Dude, dude, dude. Um, yeah, you gotta have like the airheavy cheerleader, right? That kind of character, the ditzy character. Unfortunately, neither one of these girls are that. Neither one of these characters are like, oh my god, like, oh my god, what, what? Like that girl's missing from the movie. Um, Stoner, yeah, definitely. There's somebody who's got to be a stoner or goth in this. In '98, as somebody who was in high school in '98, you're missing a stoner and or goth, one of those two. Um, so yeah, and like leaning into those archetypes, by the way, so that they're more obvious and not just like, I promise, guys, I'm a goth. I just forgot to put on my makeup before the zombie apocalypse, so I'm just gonna be looking extremely normal instead. And I forgot all of my black makeup and my upside down cross. I don't know. So, hmm. Yeah, there's stuff that they could have mined here. I kind of like Luke McFarland being cast a little bit against type. He usually plays as like really like likable, affable characters, and I kind of liked him playing the potentially villainous type character. Like the calls coming from inside the house type thing, where he proves to be the danger within. This just doesn't do anything with anything. It's just kind of a dull film. I'm gonna give it a 4.8 out of 10. I don't recommend this. This is a rotten for me. So this is, it may be a test. It may not be a test, but it's not anything you need to concern yourself with. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.